So we find ourselves at gate 4, the return to sensation, when we start the descent back into the body. This marks the turning point in the descent after the mind's panic, gate 3, the last stand of the ego where it's trying desperately to keep us out of the body and to control everything. Something remarkable starts to happen. The thinking mind, the ego mind, starts to get exhausted. It starts to tire, and the cognitive spirals start to soften. The system reorganizes it recognizes that thought cannot stop the unfolding. It's happening anyway. And for the first time in a long time, perhaps years, perhaps decades, the body starts to speak. Gate 4 is the return to embodiment and sensation. And this is the gate where awareness shifts from here, the cognitive thinking mind into the body mind, downwards, from head into the soma. It's where people begin to feel again, but often in ways that are confusing, overwhelming, or misunderstood. This gate can be beautiful at times, frightening, liberating, destabilizing, and deeply sacred, because this is the moment you re-enter your body. Not the body of roles, not the body of coping, not the body of performance or chasing, but the felt body, the emotional body, the memory body, the shadow body. And gate 4 is the point where the descent becomes unmistakable and where resistance becomes the single obstacle to movement. What does it feel like in gate 4? Well, I can suddenly feel my body again. The sensations are so loud, I can feel heat, pressure, buzzing, waves. I can start to feel things moving. The body feels alive and overwhelming at the same time. I know something is shifting inside of me. I feel like I'm dropping down. There's heaviness in my gut or my chest or my legs. My throat feels tight, there's lumps in it. Everything feels raw. I feel like I've avoided my whole life. And common sensations at this point will often have tingling, heaviness, warmth, contractions, fluttering, pulling, sinking, internal waves, heat, cold, gut movement, tightness in the chest or throat, deep exhaustion, emotional sensations rising before obvious emotion itself. It's instinct waking up, and this is all part of allowing this to happen within our schedule and within our mindset of allowing. The body will feel incredibly loud, but it's not malfunction, it is returning. Returning back to consciousness, our consciousness. So why is the sensation coming back now? Gate 4 opens only after gate 1 breaks the somatic suppression, the collapse. Gate 2 collapses under the protector identity, the old roles, we can't carry on service them anymore. Gate 3 exhausts the cognitive defense of the ego. Now the system can finally descend. And the return to sensation is the return to interoception, the felt internal sense, intuition, emotional charge, instinct, guidance, our compass, our embodied memory, the shadow's first somatic signals, and the nervous system's true state. And this is necessary because you cannot release what you cannot feel. You cannot integrate what you cannot sense. You cannot awaken into the self while dissociated from the body. You cannot solve this neck up. And gate 4 is the first undeniable step towards our wholeness. So what's the nervous system doing in gate 4? Physiologically, it responds to a drop in sympathetic arousal for moments at a time. Partial return of ventral vagal tone for moments at a time. Dorsal states becoming more accessible. Thawing of somatic freeze. Increased interoceptive awareness. We're able to recognize sensation in the body more and stay with it more. Emotional residue starts surfacing through the body. And we start to get the first stage of somatic discharge. This is the point at which we actually start being able to feel releases. It's where the nervous system begins to feel safe enough by our willingness to be in the body to reveal what it's previously concealed. And this is why sensations at this point always intensify. It's normal. Not because something's wrong, but because the system is beginning to open and allow into consciousness that which has been repressed. So gate 4 is not yet the full emotional flood of the next gate, gate 5. It's the prelude, it's the preparation, it's the amuse-bouche, the first course. And what returns are sort of proto-emotions, the physical layers beneath emotions, if you like, tightness, the sort of more raw sensation, the raw affect before they actually become into tangible emotions. So heat, trembling, tightness, pressure, restlessness, sinking, heaviness. These are somatic signatures of the emotions we couldn't felt, but don't yet recognize yet consciously the grief, the anger, the fear, the longing, the unmet needs, the childhood wounds, ancestral memories, suppressed truth, etc. The emotional body is preparing to rise, and gate 4 is the knock at the door. And psychologically, at this stage, people often feel very vulnerable, disoriented, somatically overwhelmed, surprised by intensity of what's happening in their body, drawn inwards, less defended, increasingly honest, more intuitive, ready to rest more, unable to perform their old identity, hardly at all, just starting to feel somehow different. And people may also fear, what is this sensation? What if something's wrong? Why is my body shaking? What's this buzzing? What's this vibrating? Why is my chest heavy? What is this nausea? Why do I feel like crying for no reason? Why do I feel these surges of rage and terror? It's the return of the exiled self. It's not pathology. Obviously, it scares people because most people have lived in their heads. The body is unfamiliar territory. In their heads, in control, in narrative, in coping, in performance, in hypervigilance, in tension, and in suppression. And returning to the body means returning to everything the body is now remembering. And this feels like stepping into a forest at night, full of movement, sound, sensation, and unknown creatures. The instinctive fear here is normal. Gate 4 is the moment people confront, what the hell have I been holding down there? It's you. It's parts of you. It's aspects of you. It's things you couldn't feel. And if you start to act like it's part of myself, coming back to myself, you won't fear it in the same way, because part of that is actually fear. Why resistance makes gate 4 harder? This must be emphasized with total clarity here. Sensation is only truly painful when resisted. Sensation becomes unbearable only when braced against. Sensation becomes frightening only when fought. The body is designed, has been for thousands and thousands of years, to process sensation, to process emotion. What it cannot process is tightening against the sensation, analysing the sensation, fearing the sensation, trying to escape the sensation, catastrophizing about the sensation, suppressing it. Resistance freezes the gate, allowing moves it. And again, people can get stuck in this phase, endlessly resisting what's in their body, trying to medicate what's in their body, trying to do everything but allow what's in their body. And this is the essence of including what's there so that we can transcend it. And gate 4 asks one question: can you allow what is arising in the body without tensing, controlling, or judging it or analysing it? If yes, the gate will open. If no, the gate will become extraordinarily painful, and it will become more and more painful because it needs to complete its journey. So the skill required here is, of course, allowing deeply active somatic neutrality. And this teaches us a core somatic skill: feeling without contracting, being in the body, becoming the space around what's there and allowing it deeply, sensing without interpreting, allowing without bracing against it, even if the thing is bracing, by the way, because you can allow the bracing, and that's safe because the bracing's there for a reason, but you just don't brace against the bracing. So you don't interfere with anything. You allow whatever's there, whether it's shallow breath, whether it's nausea, whether it's stabbing pain, whether it's diaphragmatic bracing, whether it's gut-wrenching, whatever. You notice it without trying to interfere with it or escape it. This is not passive. This is active neutrality, because my God, you have to work your ass off to do this. Because everything is screaming, get away from this, resist it, hide from it, fix it. And you have to go right up to it, become the space around it, and know that that is what gives it permission to move. This is the solution. It wants to. Energy is meant to move. So it's conscious, embodied, grounded receptivity. You do not need to just sit with the sensation. You need to stop trying to push it away. You're not trying to fix it, change it, improve it, complete it, interpret it, release it. You're allowing it to complete itself. Because guess what? The body knows how to do that. The somatic field knows how to do that. The emotional arcs know how to do it. The nervous system knows how. It does not need our interference. It does not need us to tap, to breathe, to do any of these things, to do biohacking. It knows what to do. Leave it alone. Put all your effort into allowing re-embodiment and allowing what's there to move under the guidance of self and nature. To be with the body, to be with it again, your younger self. Let that part of you now express how you once felt and is now trying to complete its journey. Your role is to permit, not to interfere or fix. What's the shadow appearing here? The dark stuff. Fear of embodiment. It was placed in the shadow. Everything that's coming up now was placed and exiled in the shadow because once it was too much. Embodiment, need, emotional truth. And so now we fear these things. Fear losing control, fear meeting childhood pain, fear our instinct, fear the unknown feelings inside, and fear the returning self. And Gate 4 exposes the way you abandoned yourself and your body so long ago, which is exactly why it is healing. So what wants to happen here? Well, to re-establish embodiment and interoception so that this energy can complete. To reconnect you with your emotional body, to return you to instinct, to open the somatic gates, to lay the foundation for emotional release, because it can't happen unless you establish a connection with the body, which means you have to come back to the body, signal safety, stay with the sensation there, and eventually, boom, that'll be emotion. When you do it long enough, when you allow enough, when you are ready, when you fully, truly submit to this. And it is preparation for the rising of this stored charge, softening resistance, building capacity to be with very unpleasant, and to the ego and to our experience at this point, extremely unpleasant and tagged as dangerous things. And to move awareness out of the head into the body and begin the true descent. It is the first moment, Gate 4, when you are truly in the process. The body is awake now. We're in business. And the deeper healing can now begin. So how to know when you're in Gate 4? If you're in Gate 4, you are likely to have an increase in your sensations. The body feels incredibly loud. You feel heavier, warmer, more activated. Stuff's happening, internal vibrations, buzzing, your chest, your gut, your throat. The midline starts to come online. You feel waves of movement internally. You experience tremors or micro shakes. You feel emotions trying to rise. Your mind is less dominant. You feel drawn inwards. You're more in the body. You feel more sensitive or intuitive. You have moments of this insight, instinct, intuition. You feel very vulnerable. You notice tension patterns you never noticed before, parts of your body you're holding, embracing, and you're aware of your breath, your natural breath, for the first time, possibly ever. Gate 4 is unmistakable once named. So how do you support yourself here? Natural breathing, never forced aggressive breath work, slow body awareness, yoga nidras, etc. All of these things we talk about, being in the body, lying down when needed, lying on the floor, just being in the body. Gentle self-holding when you're learning to do this. Hold the torso where you feel it. You can, even as you learn to do this, do some self-havening for comfort. Okay, not to try and calm things down, but to just show you are now in the body and you are signaling that you are ready and you're back. And allow whatever happens, tears, trembling, all the unbelievable things that will just start erupting randomly. You'll just be watching an advert with a kitten on. You'll be inconsolable for 3 hours. You know, it wasn't even a sad advert. It's going to come out. Resting without guilt, very, very key. You'll start to be able to do that more. And staying out of analysis. Quiet environments. You want quiet. Grounding in the body. Being in nature when you can. Embodied movement. Allow movement to emerge naturally. And allow slowness. What harms, what prevents this stage from doing its thing? Resisting sensations. Scanning for danger, interpreting sensations catastrophically, still being in the thinking mind. What emotion is that? What's happening? How can I control it? What gate? Forget it. Forcing, overthinking the process. Get into the body. Trying to meditate your way out of healing. Out of feeling, into healing. Suppressing tears, suppressing anger, suppressing fear. Trying to calm the panic, trying to calm anxiety. Do not do it. Shaming your sensitivity. Because once it wasn't okay and it meant danger and vulnerability and exposure, now we want it. And pushing through activation. Allow the activation. It must be met with spaciousness in your life, in your timetable, your schedule, and of course in your experiential awareness. It is the moment, in evolutionary terms, when consciousness re-enters the body, and it's profound. It's the reversal of dissociation from the body. It's the undoing of emotional suppression. It's the beginning of instinct returning. It's the first awakening of the deeper self in the soma, in the body. And this is where people often realize, I haven't been in my body forever. Now I'm coming home. And this is the homecoming. This is where the center of self resides. And it's preparing you for the rising of the emotional charge, preparing you for emotion. And this is gate 5. And this is where the emotional body that has been dormant, the life force, begins to rise. You'll feel pressure, waves, heat, emotional content, grief, anger, fear, longing, contractions, expansions, old arcs coming up, and you will recognize them as emotion very dramatically at times. And this is the beginning of true emotional release. You cannot make it happen. You allow it to happen through this natural stage by stage thing. You cannot miss any of these gates. And anyone who tells you otherwise doesn't understand, because you'll just go back to the beginning again, because you won't be able to integrate it. Nature's got it covered. Don't interfere, just allow it. So, on to gate 5. Gate 5 is the moment the emotional body truly awakens. If gate 4 was the knock at the door, gate 5 is the door actually opening. This gate is powerful, necessary, and entirely natural, but it is also the gate that most people fear, most clinicians misunderstand, and most spiritual systems bypass. Gate 5 is the rising of the emotional charged. the movement of stored survival energy, emotional residue, and somatic memory from deep within the tissues towards consciousness and awareness. It is loud, it is intense, it is confronting, and it is sacred. Because this is where the body begins to empty the past. It's the great update. And when people do not know what this gate is, they think they are getting worse, they are emotionally regressing. But with understanding, gate 5 becomes one of the most profoundly liberating transitions in the entire 12 gates. And the central principle remains: you cannot transcend what you refuse to feel. You cannot move through gate 5 without including the emotion that rises. Allowing, not suppressing, is the medicine. So what does gate 5 feel like? Well, it's when we start to really feel, it is like a charge. Pressure in the chest, either pressing inwards or outwards, heaviness in the gut, squeezing around the heart, squeezing and heat in the midline, heat in the solar plexus, waves rising towards the throat, trembling, shaking, buzzing, surges or pulsing, emotional nausea, the sort of like you've got a lump in your throat, tight jaw and face, internal pulling, tension rising into the head, tears always close to the surface but never quite able to fully, go for it that easily, and emotional waves that feel like they just came out of the blue. Sudden grief, sudden anger, sudden fear. And then often the intense need to cry, to shake, to curl, or to take a massive, deep breath. Some people feel bursts of sadness, waves of anger, flashes of fear. Sobbing often happens at this stage without story. It's just a physiological movement of old energy around the system. Trembling without thought, pressure without any sort of meaning whatsoever. It's just old energy. It's not random, it's not pathology, it's the emotional charge, the stored remnants of long suppressed feelings coming up to be felt and released. That's it. So why is it happening now? Why is the emotional body rising now? Well, gate 5 obviously follows gate 4 because the body has reopened. We have re-entered the body. We are aware of the body, the bodily states. We are allowing the bodily states. We are connecting with our interoception. Sensation is now accessible. The defense layers have softened because the ego has softened. Dissociation is no longer dominant. We're not living in our heads all the time. The nervous system is ready now to release what it's been holding for the deeper work. And the protector identity has started to weaken. The ego's cognitive grip is loosening and the self is beginning to lead. We're beginning to have moments when we think, oh, I actually kind of trust this. This seems to be actually making some sense. And this gate 5 is the point at which the emotional body says, now that you're here, back in the body, let me just show you what I've been carrying. And every sensation is the gate, in this gate is the body trying to complete something that was started and never finished. This is the true intelligence of nature, the wisdom of evolution, the arc of emotion finishing itself. Let's look at the neuroscience of gate 5. Emotion is not just psychological. Emotion is physiological movement. Every emotional has a neurobiological arc involving limbic activation, vagal shifts, endocrine discharge, muscular activation, changes in breathing, somatic impulses, and completional signals within the midbrain. When emotions are suppressed, the arc freezes, it's truncated, it's interrupted, the tension builds, the energy gets turned inwards, and the incomplete cycles store in the tissues. The charge accumulates and builds, and the survival energy then becomes chronic patterns and, of course, symptoms. Gate 5 is the unfreezing of those incomplete arcs, signalled by the fact that we're returning to the body. And this is why it literally feels like pressure rising, energy moving, tears spontaneously emerging, heat, building, shaking, jerking, buzzing beginning. It's just life force energy that's now coming out of the tissues, the fascia, the body, the muscles. Everything is moving and moving up to complete what it couldn't all those years ago. That was paused, and it can be from decades ago. So why is gate 5 so misunderstood? Because people often think it's regression. Oh my God, my symptoms are getting worse. No, they think it might be emotional breakdown because you're so emotional when you've been unemotional probably for a long time, or only dealing with secondary emotional. People might think they're becoming unstable, losing control, that trauma is resurfacing uncontrollably, that something is going wrong. But the opposite is true. It's progress, it's healing, it's the beginning of the emptying of all that has been held in the body, deep in implicit memory, in the shadow body. Everyone wants to heal emotionally, but most people seem to imagine this as peaceful, gentle, do a bit of journaling, graceful, quiet, cognitive, linear. No. Real emotional healing, and I'm not going to call it healing because it sounds like it's broken, but exactly, healing and allowing emotions as part of our healing is none of these. It's somatic, instinctual, cyclical, messy, ancient, can seem absolutely primal and deeply intelligent. And if you're in gate 5, this will become very obvious to you. So why resistance creates so much suffering in gate 5? Well, the rising of emotional charge by itself is never the problem. It's just energy moving from there to there. The problem is what the mind does in response. And resistance transforms healthy emotional movement into panic, overwhelm, sensory overload, shutdown, exhaustion, or dissociation. Why? Because resisting emotion, as I mentioned in previous videos, requires muscular tension, defensive contraction, breath holding, cognitive suppression, sympathetic activation, and dorsal shutdown. Now, just to be clear, a lot of people will have muscular tension, defensive contraction, breath holding, and cognitive. These things will be happening anyway, but it's doing it on top of that that's the problem. Because emotion is movement, resistance is immobility. And when movement meets immobility, the system becomes overwhelmed. Again, we've got this, the unstoppable ball and the immovable post. And this is why gate 5 sometimes feels too much when resisted and liberating when allowed. Again, active neutrality is the only way to move through all these processes, these gates, this entire cycle. And to move through gate 5, you must include what arises. This must be said very clearly. You cannot heal by suppressing the very thing that is trying to heal you. And so many people have misunderstood this. So they are medicating it away. They are soothing it away, wooing it away, biohacking it away, calming it away. We want it to move out and through. And gate 5 requires natural breath, not this forced breath to try and get rid of something, or TRE or any of these things. They don't get me started. Anyway, an awareness turning inwards. We come back to the body introspectively and we turn towards what is there. And by being with it, becoming the space that surrounds it, we give it signal to allow and express. We notice without analysing. And we listen in an embodied way, wordlessly. We feel without bracing, even if the thing we're feeling is bracing. Okay, because there will be a lot of bracing. People will be in freeze, they'll be contracted, their diaphragms might be up here. That's fine. Don't then brace against what energetically is actually coming behind it. Stay in the body, stay in the body, stay in the body. Trust the arc. Remain grounded in the body. Do not turn away. Do not try and fix it. Do not try and engage in something to make it go away. It will go away back into the shadow and it'll come back later harder. Okay? Don't do that. Do not do that. Let the emotions rise and complete naturally. They know what to do. Transcend and include. Feel and include. Allow and integrate. Only by including the rising emotional charge can you move through gate 5 to gate 6. Gate 5 often brings emotion in predictable layers. Often, it depends on people. There will be a layer of fear, which will be a first layer of ego defense. Then grief, the body's cry for what it never received. Anger, and often fear as well at a deeper level, boundary and truth layers. And then, of course, sadness, longing, joy, all of these things. Sadness is like the release layer. And it can happen in different ways. Longing, the attachment wound layer. And this peace layer of the sense of joy. They appear in waves, not as linear steps, and each one must be allowed to fully move. Everybody will be different, but you do start to see patterns form, depending on what you weren't allowed to feel, what was considered and tagged most dangerous by the ego mind. No layer is dangerous, no layer is pathological, no layer is wrong. Each layer is an attempt at completion. So the shadow appearing here includes a terror of feeling, fear of crying, fear of anger, fear of collapse and breaking apart, fear of losing control and the emotional intensity, like if I start, I won't stop, fear of the childhood pain, fear of what is being remembered by the body, and shame for having feelings at all. It feels dangerous and exposing. And this stage will expose the emotional prohibitions, therefore, that you learned as a child. If you weren't allowed to feel anger, some people are allowed to feel some things, but not others. So it's going to be particular to you. And this gate of 5, this stage, will give it back to you safely. Everything that was exiled, not allowed, and tagged as bad will now come back to you. So the psychological landscape here is very raw, tender, vulnerable, emotional, often overwhelmed, deeply honest, unable to pretend anymore. You can't suck it up. You'll just be probably crying and doing whatever and being angry, and it'll just be happening. You'll feel quite unexpectedly open, quite overwhelmed, drawn inwards, exhausted, relieved, literally just, this is just doing it for you. You might be afraid of what else might rise. And you also might start feeling closer to your true self than ever before. Something will start appearing and glimmering. And people will often say, I've cried more in a week than I have in 10 years. Good. This is the emotional body emptying. Or I'm just scared how much is in there. I might smash up the place or kill someone. Good. You won't. Gate 5 is showing exactly why you were in survival mode for so long. Or what if I can't handle this? You are handling it. That's the whole point. Gate 5 does not open until the system is ready. You never go looking for it. You never go digging it. You never go forcing it. You never try and breathe it away. You never try and activate it. You signal that you have space for it to activate and move through. So much easier. So what wants to happen in gate 5? It's here to release trapped emotion, emotional energy, survival energy, complete frozen emotional arcs, bring truth to the surface, reconnect us to our instinct, dissolve layers of defense and protection, open the heart, and I don't mean that in an airy-fairy way, literally as a center in the body, soften the armor around the gut, that bracing and that tightness holding the psoas and the pelvis and all around here, increase our authenticity and prepare for overload release, which is the next gate, and move you towards deeper integration. It's one of the most healing gates in the entire sequence, and it's like a long emotional exhale that has been waiting for years for you to allow it. So how do you know you're in gate 5? Well, you suddenly, you might have just been feeling numb or sensations or just your symptoms all the time as you're allowing. Suddenly now you can feel waves of emotion rising. Sensations intensify, symptoms might intensify, then you get releases. Tears will start to come more easily. Emotional memories will start to stir. You tremble during emotional moments. Anger or grief rise, not in here, but from the body. The throat and chest tightens before tears. It's not just this sort of superficial, a little bit of watering of the eye. You'll actually feel it rising up and out. You feel emotionally full. And the body feels like it's moving things upwards. Sensations are rising to the surface and you feel emotionally alive for the first time in years, often quite dramatically so. But you are frightened of the intensity, but also on some level relieved. It's unmistakable. So how do you support yourself? Well, by allowing it, letting emotions rise all the way where they want to. Let the body express it in whatever way it wants to. You cry without story. You cry in the body, not in the head, not in the thinking mind, but in the body mind. You allow the body to move exactly as it wants to. If it wants to engage in emergent activity, if it wants to push, if its legs want to do, if it wants to rock, if it wants to shake, if it wants to curl into a ball, let it do whatever it wants to do. Stay in safe, warm environments. Place your hand in the body where you find this charge. It just helps keep you in the body and out of here. Natural breathing. Gentle, natural movement, and allow yourself to just be human. Stay out of analysis. Just say, I'm processing. I'm working. I'm doing my stuff. This is the most important thing in your life, okay? Now, what harms this process is suppressing your tears, resisting your anger, tightening against the tightness, tightening against the body, tightening against what's coming up, holding the breath, distracting yourself, thinking about emotions, spiritual bypassing, judging the process, perfectionism, fearing the emotion, catastrophizing the intensity. Every emotion only wants one thing: completion. Emotion, energy in motion, emovere, Latin, to move out. And completing an emotion is as simple as letting it rise, letting it peak and soften. The body knows how. It really does. Once you start to reconnect with the body. So what's the evolutionary meaning? The evolutionary meaning is not emotional regression, it's emotional evolution. This is the moment you start to reclaim instinct, your gut feeling, your truth, your honesty, your history, your boundaries, your grief, your anger, your sadness, your tenderness, your joy, and your humanity. Yourself. Moving towards selfhood. This is the moment the body says, everything you did not feel, you're going to feel now. I want to feel it now. Not to overwhelm you, but to free you. And gate 5 is the emotional release humanity was never taught. In our culture particularly, this is so common. It's too common. And it's the return from out of here into the feeling body, the awakening of the mammal in you, the restoration of instinct, the emptying of the past, and the opening of the whole body, the center, the chest, the body, the heart, the throat, all of it. And it's the beginning of becoming real. And then we're going to move on to, inevitably, gate 6, overload and the purification storm, because this is the peak of emotional activation, the moment of overload, catharsis, and the storm before clearing. It's powerful, essential, evolutionary, but completely safe when you understand it in light of this map. Gate 6 is the moment in healing, awakening, or emotional descent that every human instinctively fears and every nervous system is wired to complete. It is the purification storm, the peak of activation, the apex of emotional and somatic intensity, the moment that everything that has been held suppressed, denied, or frozen begins to surface all at once. It is not madness. You are not going backwards. You're not collapsing. This is the peak of the arc, the moment before release. Gate 6 is the crescendo. If gate 5 was the arising of the emotional charge, as we're now allowing ourselves to come back to the body and feel and make ourselves open to let this channel now be used in the way it should, 6 is the overload required for discharge. And this is where the evolutionary logic becomes clear. You cannot release what has not fully risen. You cannot clear what has not been brought to the surface, and you cannot become whole until all parts have returned. Gate 6 must happen. It always has, it always will. It is part of the universal architecture of consciousness. And most crucially, the only way through gate 6 is surrender. Not bracing, not fighting, not interpreting, not analysing, not trying to stay calm, not trying to calm yourself down, not controlling, allowing. Let it rise, let it crest, let it break over and over again. And this gate is the storm that clears the sky. So what does gate 6 feel like? People often speak in visceral language. It's a body thing. Everything is rising at once. I feel like I'm overflowing. I can't hold this much emotion. My chest is on fire. I'm burning. There's so much pressure. My whole body keeps shaking. I feel like I'm falling apart. It's all too much. It's like there's a storm raging inside of me. Everything hurts even more. Symptoms have spiked and everything is opening. I'm terrified, but something in there, in a kernel within me, knows that this is right. And of course, to remind you, this is within you doing the framework of allowing and a schedule and supporting yourself within the container for this to happen. Common sensations here are huge emotional rises, surges of fear, grief, anger, trembling, shaking, heat, cold, waves of rapidly rising emotional energy, uncontrollable crying, explosive anger or rage arcs, grief that feels ancient and out of place, rapid breathing, panting or breath holding, chest pressure, gut convulsions, throat tightening or sound impulses, dizziness, shaking legs or hands, waves of nausea, primal emotion with no clear story, just as raw energy, and old memories and new sensations beginning to overlap. A sense of the body purging. This is the storm. This is not punishment. This is not pathology. This is evolution. It is purification, the moment of the emotional and somatic overload that allows the past to clear. So why does gate 6 happen? Well, because we've allowed the emotional body to rise. We have returned to the body. The ego has been started to be retrained as an allower. The defenses therefore have softened. The nervous system now has enough capacity. The shadow is ready for release. The somatic channels are open. The self is now leading the process, and the body trusts that it is now safe enough to empty because you have signaled your willingness to surrender and come back to the body. Everything held must come up now so that it can move. This is the beginning of completeness. This is individuation. This is where the backlog breaks through. Emotion that's been stored for 10 years, 20, 40 years, and sometimes across generations, is rising in the present to be felt, witnessed, integrated and dissolved. This is evolutionary medicine. Sorry about the beeping. So gate 6 corresponds to huge sympathetic nervous system surges, limbic activation, dorsal thaw, mid-brain, the emotional centers of the brain release, vagal shake and discharge, interoceptive flooding. It will feel so intense in the body, emotional arcs completing, and somatic purging. This is the moment when stored survival energy, incomplete defensive responses, unfelt emotion, frozen impulses, childhood memory residues, emotional residues, attachment ruptures, and trauma charges all move towards completion and resolution. This is not destabilization, it is the nervous system completing old cycles. The intensity is not a mistake, it is a threshold. So why does it feel so overwhelming? Because it does. Because you are finally strong enough, even if the ego thinks you're not, because this does not feel fun, but you are strong enough, and it is emergent, chosen for you to face what you were once too overwhelmed to feel, because you've been doing the work in these subsequent gates. Gate 6 is everything you didn't have the capacity to feel back then, rising now into a system that can metabolize and integrate it, because you haven't forced it, you've allowed it, you haven't tried to skip the previous gates. You're now ready. And it feels overwhelming because the ego cannot control it. The emotional body has opened, the system is reorganizing, instinct is returning, the self is descending fully, your life history is resurfacing, is surfacing and updating. Dissociation is dissolving. This split, the divided self, this fracture is resolving. And overwhelm is not a sign that you can't handle the process. Overwhelm means we are now finally free to process this, and it doesn't feel nice. But it's nature, trust it. The psychological landscape of Gate 6 looks like this. People will be saying things like, I feel like I'm losing myself. I am terrified of the intensity. I feel like I'm dying. I'm overwhelmed. I can't go on. I didn't know this much was inside of me. It feels like everything is breaking open. I feel like I cannot stop crying. There is so much rage I didn't know I had. Gate 6 takes you into the emotional body in its rawest state. But do not mistake intensity for danger. It is safe when understood and allowed. The psyche is not exploding, the psyche is expelling. You are not breaking, you are unburdening, you are unshackling yourself from the past. So what must be included in Gate 6? Everything. Everything must be allowed. This is a transcend and include at its most literal. You must include and allow the shaking, the heat, the rage, the fear, the anger, the grief, the tears, the contractions, the nausea, the primal impulses, the too muchness, the ancient residue to clear. Gate 6 does not open unless the system is ready. You cannot make it open, but it will not complete unless you allow it. And some people get stuck here. So the rule of this gate is to obviously allow. Do not brace against what's happening. Do not brace against the bracing. The bracing itself is something you must allow because it's a metering, valving of this energy coming into consciousness. So deeply allow it. Do not contract around what's happening. Do not analyze, do not interpret, do not resist. Do not try and soothe or calm. Do not try and push it away. Do not try and control it. Let it rise. Let it crest. Let it move through you. Let it pass like a storm. You cannot fight it. You can only let it come through. Resistance creates more suffering. If you tighten, if you clench, if you hold your breath, if you try and breathe it away, if you attempt to understand it, if you try and get a grip or push through, analyze what's happening, catastrophize, Google some more, try and fix it, dissociate, spiritually override, avoid or try and escape it, distract it, biohack it away. You trap the charge again. And Gate 6 will then become panic, shutdown, dread, sensory overload, stuck emotion, chronic looping, and a prolonged flare. Now, it doesn't mean we're going to get it perfect, okay? But every time you allow, you're moving through to complete this gate. But resistance creates stagnation, and stagnation creates suffering. Allowing creates resolution. Please do not try and fix this. You must become an allower. I don't care what you've seen out there about trying to calm this or do this or hack or re-regulate your nervous system. Ignore that, please. I urge you. This is regulation happening through nature, naturally. And it's the only thing that works. So what does true allowing look like in gate 6? Active neutrality as ever. Natural breathing, even if it's tiny panting, even if it's breath holding, even if it's you only breathing to the point of resistance and then surrendering to the breath and let it do what it knows to do. How to do is to move this energetic charge around, letting the waves rise, staying embodied as much as you can, noticing the movement from a place through which it moves, letting your tears fall. Keep softening into the body. Allow the rage, allow the trembling, the fear. Let the grief break open. Do not try and resist any impulses, any movements, any emergent sounds, any emergent emotions, sensations. Allow them all. Do not interfere. Do not resist against them. Do not try and resolve them. Trust the arc. You are an animal in a cave, effectively moving this stuff. Well, the self is moving it through. You just have to allow it. You are not trying to stay calm. You are not trying to manage. You are not trying to hold it together. You are letting the storm happen within your awareness, by the way, which is always calm. That part that can notice, oh my God, I'm having a nervous breakdown, I can't cope with it, is always beyond that thought or that feeling. This is the completion of the freeze response. It is the unwinding of trauma cycles. It is the body reclaiming itself. The gate 6 brings the deepest shadows. Everything coming up. The fear of annihilation, the fear of madness, the fear of collapsing, the fear of the intensity of the emotion, fear of what the body contains, rage at the past, grief for the childhood self, terror of letting go, terror of surrender, terror of emptiness and stillness, and shame for feeling so much. These shadows must be included, not analysed. Just let them. They're parts of you coming back. You want them. Shadow integration begins here. And gate 6 is the return of everything you split off to survive. And it is absolutely essential for the evolution of your consciousness and for individuation. Most people imagine that awakening is peaceful, quiet, tranquil, serene. But real evolution, real integration, somatic, psychological, spiritual, is messy as hell, chaotic and not tidy. It is the evolutionary upgrade. Gate 6 is where your system clears out outdated emotional patterns, breaks ancestral cycles, dissolves chronic tension, releases survival energy, empties generational trauma, restores instinct, clears the emotional field, dissolves the old identity, and prepares for the descent, which is gate 7 and 8. How long you're in this stage depends on you. It will be decided for you. And the next gate will naturally arrive. And this, without gate 6, you cannot evolve. This is the emotional and somatic reboot, and it's been trying to happen for you naturally all along through symptoms, which are trying to bring this into consciousness. So how do you know you're in gate 6? You are likely to be in gate 6 if the emotional intensity is very, very high. Sensations rise like waves. You cry suddenly, really deeply, heavily, not this sort of superficial crying, real gut-wrenching crying. You shake or tremble, you jerk, you buzz, you feel inner heat or storms, outbursts of emotions. You feel overwhelmed but somewhere safe. The body feels like it's purging. It's like vomiting up all this stuff. The emotional arcs begin to complete. The storms rise and pass. You feel both absolutely terrified but also quietly relieved. Old memories pop up, things you've completely forgotten about, and you feel them in the body. You have a sense of breaking open. It is unmistakable. How do you support yourself in this stage, in this gate? Lie on the floor a lot. it's a great way to allow this to move through you. Hold yourself gently. If necessary, hold on to yourself, really, to stay in the body and soothe yourself. Engage in natural breathing. Please look at the exercise I did on Let the Breath Breathe You. It's very helpful. Vocalize if you need to. Open your mouth and just see what comes out, because strange things will probably want to come out. These are basically the unfinished sounds you would like to have made back then when that arc was interrupted. It might be cries, grunts, groans, screams. Let it all happen. Let the body move naturally as it wants to. It might want to jerk or sway or curl up. Let it lead. Have a very quiet, gentle life at this point within your schedule. Really treasure and honour your rest periods, the periods of just quiet embodiment. Look after yourself, stay warm. Really go for darkness or soft light. Be a creature in a burrow. That's what you are, effectively. And allow it all. Minimal stimulation, as ever. Really, at this point, you just will not want more loudness, more incoming information, more to process. Everything will feel too much. And just rest in yourself and trust. What harms at this stage? Well, self-judgment, resisting the waves, getting stuck in your head, trying to stop emotion, interpreting intensity as danger, calling it a relapse, trying to push through, still trying to sort it out from your head, still fearing the body, forcing the body to be still, analysing the experience, worrying about how long it will be last, trying to still make it happen, comparing it to others' experience, trying to be spiritual, trying to be rational and logical. This is completely logical in every way, but not to the ego. Everything you're experiencing, however seemingly crazy, if you're screaming like a banshee, rocking like a child, completely logical. Okay? Gate 6 must be met with permission, not control. I cannot stress that enough. You must allow it. If we look at the evolutionary meaning of this process for Gate 6, this is the moment humans have been avoiding for millennia. This is why cultures fear emotion, religions fear embodiment, families fear authenticity, and society fears the true self. Because Gate 6 shows you what you were never allowed to feel. It breaks apart old emotional rules and laws. It breaks the shame. It breaks the armour. It breaks inherited prohibitions. It breaks the freeze instinct, and it breaks the illusion of control that we are all deluded by. After Gate 6, you will start to no longer be the same person again. And there will be big implications for that in your life. You will start to operate differently. Something has opened, something has changed, something has broken, something has cleared, something is ending, and now something is beginning. Gate 6 is the fire that burns away the old self. Allow it. And what comes after? Well, once the storm crests and softens, the system enters Gate 7, and this is the psychic and perceptual reorganization. And this is where the world starts to look different, where perception starts to sharpen, where reality starts to feel more transparent, symbolic, or luminous, and where intuition opens at a new level, where the psyche begins to reform. It is the reorganization that comes following the storm. Just a reminder for how to safely use the 12 gates, how they're meant to be used. They are a natural unfolding, not a technique or a ladder, something you force or override from the ego. It's not something you work through. They are something the body reveals when it is ready. You do not consciously climb them. You do not push into the next one. You do not aim for Gate 12. The gates are a description of what is happening naturally, not steps you choose. Your only task is to notice where you are to recognize it, to reassure you that what you're feeling is part of this unfolding process of individuation, of healing, and to allow what is there and recognize it is naturally opening. You always stay where you are with the gate you're in, and this is the essence. You don't move ahead because you want to. You do not imagine that progress means reaching a higher gate. You do not decide when you are ready to move because of hope, pressure, fear, impatience, trying to make it happen, or ego. The gate moves you. When something opens, you follow it. When something hasn't opened it, you stay exactly where you are. People might be in gate 3 for months and months and months. Others might move through in a month or two. It might take a year or two. Anything else is ego override, and some people need to learn to allow more, to adapt to their schedule. Some people have harder, stronger personas because of more trauma, long time having overridden, having to defend themselves more. Doesn't mean you're not going to get there, and it doesn't mean you're not doing it right. You always remain within the schedule, always. The schedule, as you know, please look at the playlist here, is the container that stops the ego from hijacking the process. Without the schedule, the ego will rush, it will push, it will override, it will fantasize about being further along, it will try and bypass feeling by reaching the next gate. But within the schedule, the system knows when it is held. Your emotions rise in the proper place, at the proper sequence, guided by the self that you can allow. And the descent back into the body to feel and to invite back emotion to continue its repressed curtailed journey will just happen naturally, is safe, and is metabolized at a speed that the ego and the nervous system of the body can cope with. You cannot use the 12 gates without the schedule, because the gates describe natural timing and the schedule protects that timing. So just don't bother until that happens. And if you're confused, go back and look at the videos. You will also learn within this process when you are trying to push, and this is a really, really important part of correct usage. Pushing looks like, I want to get to gate 12 now. Why am I still here? Shouldn't I be further along? Let me bring more up. Let me do a big release today. I'll try and kind of make it happen. I'll do an extra session to get ahead. It's too slow. These are all ego impulses, and they interrupt the natural intelligence of the descent and the processing. Real gate movement feels like no pushing at all. It feels like something opening inside you on its own. If you are trying to open it, you are in fact closing it. So your body chooses, guided by the self, the depth and the timing. It knows exactly when a gate is ready. It knows when the ego is soft enough. It knows when you have capacity. When a gate is complete, it will offer you the next gate. When to pause, when to deepen, when to bring up the shadow, in what amounts, and when to integrate it. The gate comes to you. Your only job is to make space within the schedule, to follow the movement, not to invent the movement, and to allow what is there. And this is why trying to process is actually going backwards. This is a tortoise, not hare situation. And anything else disrupts the self-sequencing. This way you'll never crash. Your flares will be containable and they'll get you through. So you must let the emotional material rise in its own order. There is a perfect internal logic to the descent, to the healing, to the processing, but the conscious mind can't see it. The system will bring up exactly what is next in line, within your capacity, exactly as it should be. The gates open in order they must, sequentially, and we'll be visiting earlier gates bit by bit as we go through. You can't skip from 4 to 6, but you can go from 6 to 5 to 1 and back again, and then when you've done that, you can go up again. But we have to keep cycling round as we process things. But you cannot skip. And it will happen for you. You don't choose which feelings appear. You don't choose what symptoms are there. You do not choose when the shadow returns or how long a gate lasts. You do not choose the shape of the spiral. Your role is humble. It's about trusting and surrender. You stay with what the body brings, nothing more. Nature, in this framework, the gates, a universal theory. I'm just putting together something that's observed everywhere else, handles the rest. The only mistake is trying to get somewhere. The moment a person tries to get ahead, reach a higher gate, unlock something, force something, perform healing, accelerate, trying to do tricks to, release trauma or emotion, etc., to increase intensity or to do it right, they have left the gate framework entirely. Out. Because the gates are not a goal. They are the bodies and minds, truer mind, the higher mind, the self, description of where you are in the descent. You cannot reach what your body has not yet prepared for. And this is a neurobiological process guided by the self. It takes time. It takes capacity. And everybody is individual. And when used correctly, the 12 gates feel effortless. Not without pain, not without flair, not without discomfort, but they are effortless, not easy, but effortless in the sense that you are not manufacturing your experience, you are not controlling anything except your commitment to allow within the schedule. You're not hunting emotion, you're not trying to speed up, you are not trying to rush this spiral. The gate should feel like a sort of patterned opening, natural deepening, organic shift. The next truth rising exactly in its own time. And the correct use always feels given, not forced. So, in one sentence, the 12 gates are, by staying exactly where you are, letting the body lead, following the schedule, letting the self lead the process, and watching for any temptation to override with the ego. I hope that's clear, because you get ahead by staying behind and trusting and surrendering to this wisdom. You don't make it happen, you let it happen, and there is a natural order to this.